And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me, as always, are my co-host Blue,
aka Writers Do,
and my other co-host Mike,
aka Pezman Mike.
And returning, I think this is like your third time, right, Robert?
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Yeah, for the trifecta, returning once again is Robert from Push Square. Welcome, Robert.
Hello, good to be here.
So we just have to give him a punch card, and then after 10 episodes, his 11th one is free.
Yep, that's right. That's right. He doesn't realize that he's actually paying us to be on these shows. So. Yeah, so welcome, Robert. We're really happy to have you back on the show. And I promise you this time that there won't, well, I can't promise you that there won't be any delays in the sound. I worked that last episode you're on, I worked really hard to clean up all that audio, so nobody heard what we all heard, but it was funny. So
okay.
So welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about today. We have some reviews coming up. We have the review of Kingdom Hearts 3. Blue and Christian beat that, so Christian will be joining the show later on. So we'll be talking about that. We also have a review of the Lair Princess and the Blind Prince, and Christian reviewed that for us as well. And then also review of Airheart, Tales of Broken Wings. I'll be giving my review of that later on in the show. Our hot topic this week is about EA and their ongoing battle with single-player games. And we'll talk about that. And before we get into all of that, we do have an icebreaker, just like every week. So this one comes from Mike. And Mike, do you want to go ahead and read the icebreaker?
Sure. Alrighty. So have you ever been punished as a child? And when I say punished, I mean having some kind of video game related punishment. So I'll go first. So for example, my mom had agreed to buy my brother and I a game. So before we left and into the car ride, we were both fighting, as brothers tend to do, and we get to the parking lot of Venture, if anybody remembers Venture. We get to the Venture parking lot, and my mom turns around and she says, "We're getting you this game, but you're not playing it until tomorrow."
Whoa.
Oh,
So,
no!
yes. So we go into the Venture, and then of course we're angelic towards each other. And we're doing just fine, Mom. We're doing great. She's like, no. So we go to the video game section, and she buys us Battletoads.
Oh, evil.
So we get home, and she hands us the game, and she goes, "Here, if I find out that you're playing this game before tomorrow, I'm throwing it away."
What?
So we go we go into the basement. We're just staring at it, and my brother turns to me. And he says, "You know, all she said was we're not allowed to play the game." So for the next 2.5 to 3 hours, all we did was watch the opening story and like the
Oh my gosh.
like so we opened the game, put it in the NES, turned it on, and we just watched the opening sequence and where the game gives that like demo that where it just plays on its own.
Yeah.
So we just watched that for like 3 hours. It's like, we're not allowed to play it. She said don't play it. She didn't say we couldn't put it in, turn it on, and just watch the game.
Wow, that's playing with fire there, Mike.
Yeah, that's risky. She could have thought you were playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Well, we got away with it, so we played at 12:01 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
Midnight launch.
That's right, exactly. And we made it to the end of the first level before getting game over, because it was Battletoads.
Is your brother older or younger than you?
He's 2 years older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was probably his fault, the whole thing.
Of course it was. It was always his fault. But being a middle child, I was always blamed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being the oldest child, I always know that's always the excuse of the middle child. So.
Yeah, they're younger than you, so they don't know better.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. What about you, Blue? Have you ever had a punishment?
Not video games, I don't think. When we were kids, we were only allowed to play a half hour of we had a half hour of TV time every day. So we could use that to watch TV or we could use it to play a game.
Uh-oh. What happens if was it you and your siblings?
Yep.
When's if one of them wanted to play games and one wanted to watch TV?
Well, they didn't have to be at the same time. And then we eventually got smart. Like when we got Mario 3, we we decided we could stack our time. So like at the beginning of the game when it was easiest, we would put the youngest sister and she would play her half hour, and then she would tag in the next sister, and then she would play, and then they would tag me in. And it was we never beat the game. We just didn't have time. I didn't beat it till I was an adult.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You game the system.
Yep.
Wow.
Similar to how you did.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. What about you, Robert?
As far as punishments in video games, nothing really comes to mind. We used to play Crash Team Racing a lot.
Yeah.
Me and my family, and I used to play it like all the time when I was a kid. So like I knew every track perfectly, and I knew every card perfectly, and like I was a master at the game by that point. And I guess they used to kind of punish me by making us play on the lesser speeds so they could have a chance. And that was kind of like, but I mean, I was only like a kid at that time, so I didn't really think of it as a punishment. But now that we've brought this up, I'm kind of like, I guess it was.
Wait a second, a delayed sense of injustice.
Yeah, I was forced to play at like half the speed, just so everybody else could play.
You're gonna call my folks now and be like, "Wait a minute here.
Wait a second. 20 plus years of injustice."
Yeah, I'm on you now.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had any kind of punishment for video games. Not to the extent that like you had, Mike. I will say though that kind of going off what Robert said. So when I was in high school, my youngest brother is 7 years younger than me, and we were playing Street Fighter 2 and on the Super Nintendo, and man, his friend was just beating me, and I was so pissed off that I like pulled out his controller, like I distracted them, and I pulled out their controller just a little bit. But it looked like it was still plugged in though. And then I whooped his butt, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on? I don't know what happened." And the kid was just like, "My buttons are not working. What's wrong? My buttons are not working." And then
your friend sounds like an old lady.
Yeah, was your brother's friend Gargamel or something?
Yes. And then they found out that the controller was unplugged, and then of course, being the youngest brother, "Mom, he unplugged the controller," and then I couldn't play, my Super Nintendo. That was my Super Nintendo, and I had to let them play. So, yeah,
that's just wrong.
I know, but I really thought I was gonna whip up on them, and like, yeah, I could take you out on Street Fighter, and then I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not very good. Yeah. So that's all I had. I know. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that punishment-wise that's happened to me. So, oh well, actually, there is one other one, and I told the story before, but I don't think I told it to you guys. Same brother, little bit. He was a little bit older at this point, and he really wanted GoldenEye for Christmas because he had a 64, and I knew he wasn't going to get GoldenEye because he was 10, and he was just too young to get GoldenEye. My parents weren't going to buy him, so they bought him NFL Quarterback Club instead. But
now wait a second. NFL Quarterback Club was a good game. That's the one that had Brett Favre on the cover,
yep,
right?
Brett Favre, that's right.
Yep.
But I think there was a couple with Brett Favre on the cover. So.
I think there was like 4.
Yeah, I think so too. Anyway, so I told my brother, I'm so mean. I said to him, "I know what you got." He's like, "What?" I said, "It starts with a G and a Golden? And he's like, oh my god, I go GoldenEye. And then he opens it, it's NFL Quarterback Club.
Oh.
Did he
Damn.
cry?
He cried and cried and cried.
Oh,
I am
you
such a
ruined
bad
Christmas.
brother. I did. I got yelled at for that. So, but I mean, it wasn't like any kind of punishment. But my parents were just like, "You're a real jerk to your brother."
We're not angry. We're just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess those are my stories. Listeners, if you have some punishment, video game related punishment, let us know. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can send us an email at at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can go on our website at gamerheadspodcast.com, or you can go on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast. All right, let's go on to the news then. I have a couple items here, and if anyone here has some items as well, please feel free to jump in. The first item that I have here is from GameSpot, and this one is kind of... this could set up some bad precedents, I guess, if you will. Politicians in Pennsylvania want to tax violent video games an extra 10%. So, House Bill 109, proposed by State Representative Republican Chris Quinn, seeks to impose the so-called sin tax. That's right, they call it the sin tax, because playing violent video games is a sin now.
Jesus.
And they're sold on any games that are sold that are rated M for mature or adults only would get this tax. The money would then go into a fund called the Digital Protection for School Safety account that aims to enhance security measures at schools in the wake of the school shootings in Parkland, Florida, and Newton, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's exactly where the money's going to go.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. That Digital
Yeah.
Protection for School Safety account. That sounds legit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that
You know what they're
gonna
gonna do?
Lots of results.
They're gonna arm the teachers with that money. We'll give those teachers guns with that money. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Like
It is ridiculous, and they are basically blaming video games for shootings.
Yep.
Like they're making like a 1-to-1 cause and result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Especially when all the research shows the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's funny because, like, I don't want to get too political here, but I mean, my politics are that I believe that people should have the right to bear arms. Fine, whatever. But by the way, this is all your fault, Robert. Your country's fault, by the way.
Oh, here we go.
The Second Amendment, by the way. This whole right to bear arms thing, that's all out of the British occupation. Anyway.
Roger holds a grudge from 16 to 1700. It's a long time to hold a grudge.
But my point is that I'm not going to blame, mass shootings for people that are responsible for their guns, right? Like, I don't think I don't blame that. I think that there's better ways of dealing with gun violence, but I also think that, pointing fingers at violent video games, you can't blame. There comes a point where a parent has to just parent their kids and say, like, you can't be playing those kind of games.
It's a scapegoat, isn't it?
It is.
It's one of those things where nobody really wants to dissect the truth and analyze it from different angles. It's just like, oh, well, it's video games, or it's this thing. Or, if you've got one thing to blame, then it's a lot better at uniting people for a cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's a thing that doesn't matter to you personally. Like,
Yes.
I'm sure
Yeah.
Mr. Representative Quinn is not an avid gamer, and so it costs him nothing to scapegoat this other...
I demand to see Quinn's gamer score / trophy count.
Right?
Come on, Quinn, you coward.
Let's settle this. Let's settle this in Call of Duty.
I'm actually... Let's see if I really want to see if I can get him on the show to talk about this. I'm not kidding. I really do want to talk about this because...
Come on, Quinn, me and you, one-on-one, Final Destination, Super Smash Bros. Melee.
That's true. Oh my gosh. So that's so true, because what is violence? I know that they're proposing it to be M for mature rating, which also not M-rated games are rated such for violence. But I mean, you'd have to say Smash Brothers,
Like
even
Catherine?
though it's cartoon characters. It's still violent.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
also like
yeah.
how out of touch they are by saying games sold at retail that are rated as mature or adults only. There's no retail places that carry adults only games, and there's no adult only games that are sold on consoles.
Oh, and digital games don't have to have ratings.
Exactly.
Ah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Not that they don't have to have ratings, but their idea is stupid.
Yeah. Well, and even call it a syntax. I mean, like
Yeah,
Like,
I was
right
gonna
there.
say, like, the syntax? What does that cover then? Does
Well,
that cover
wait.
everything?
Isn't Pennsylvania the place, they had the soda tax, right?
Oh,
Illinois.
really?
Well, Chicago tried it,
Oh,
and
they have the sugar tax, right?
yeah, the sugar tax. And what's even worse is that they even put that sugar tax on stuff that didn't have sugar in it.
You know who else we can blame this on? The British for that tea, taxing the tea. Gosh, they give us ideas. What the hell?
You know, Robert, I think you could just, craft a really nicely worded apology and maybe
Yeah,
you could get
yeah,
over this.
yeah. Robert, I think you should write a nice apology letter for all these issues that obviously stem from the British.
How about I take the plunge and I'll be the one who faces Quinn?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
If I get him on the show, Robert, I'll have you on as well. But here's the other thing that I will say though. GameSpot had this article, and like, I understand, like, you want to put pictures in it, but they put like a picture of a violent video game on it. I think it was Far. What is that? What's the one that everybody? Oh, Grand Theft Auto 5. Couldn't think of it. And I'm like, that's not really helping at all. Like,
you're hurting the team.
Yeah, kind of hurting the team there. Like, hey, yeah, they want to call syntax. Look at this game; it's kind of sinful.
Maybe they just
Kind
want
of.
to raise taxes, but they want to have people applaud them while they do so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
however they can raise taxes with the least amount of resistance. That's what they're
exactly.
about.
It's like
Yeah.
where I live. There's an emissions test you have to take.
Oh yeah,
We have
Me
that.
too. Yep.
Yeah, but it's stupid because when you go and you have your car quote unquote tested, they don't test for emissions. They just plug it in and make sure that the proper like indication lights are working, and then you pay your $10 and you go on with your life. And it's like, can we just, if you just want $10 from every car on the road, just say so. Don't make us jump through all these hoops and pretend it's for our own good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all right. That's a good start to the news.
Yeah.
here.
Good stuff. Yay.
This next item actually is from Push Square. Hey, I know somebody from that place. I know 2 people from that place. Holy
Oh my
cow.
god.
And this one is EA blames subpar Battlefield 5 sales on single player. So this is from Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA. We made the decision to prioritize other features, including a single player experience at launch over a battle royale mode. Unfortunately, the later release meant the game launched deeper into a competitive holiday window where heavy pricing discounts was a big factor. So apparently they're saying our game wasn't good enough to compete with with other games during the holiday season. Is that what they're saying?
Huh.
That's kind of what I'm hearing here.
Yeah, I guess it was a especially big holiday season though.
Yeah, but
Well,
are you saying that?
that's just stupid. Like, even like if you're releasing movies, you don't want to go release your movie the same weekend as Harry Potter comes out. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it was Battlefield was in a really bad spot anyway because it launched after Call of Duty and it launched after Red Dead Redemption 2. So it kind of like it had the rug pulled out from under it before it even had a chance. That said, it still sold like 7 million copies, which apparently wasn't enough.
It's still subpar.
Yeah. Whether it's, I mean, but Wilson's right to a degree. I've got no doubt whatsoever that if Battlefield 5 had shipped with a Battle Royale mode rather than a single player mode, it would have sold more copies. I think that's probably undeniable at this point, especially when you look at Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's like the unfortunate truth for people who like single player stuff, but it's probably the truth.
Well, then again, they have people saying the next Call of Duty won't have a campaign; it'll only be online, and then everybody's saying, "Well, I'm not getting it then."
Yeah, but this is it though, isn't it? You've got to it comes down to how many people realistically are not going to buy Call of Duty versus how many people realistically are going to buy it for the battle royale.
Yeah.
But is it just a vocal minority as things like this usually tend to be, or is it I'm not defending EA by any means, but it's kind of like,
Are you on the payroll now?
yeah, getting paid off by Wilson himself, comes around, delivers the check. Good work, Robert. Nice one.
I need you to go on every podcast and defend us if you can.
Here's your sack with a $sign on it.
Puts it down the table. Boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's like, but then again, I don't think you can, you can't blame the fact that single player and therefore the delay was the only problem Battlefield 5 had. Battlefield 5 had a lot of problems.
Right. Well, in the fact that they had to basically, fend off any kind of microtransactions, and you know what I mean. Like, there's a lot of bad taste in their mouth to begin with.
Yeah.
So
it's like anything EA does gets it's scrutinized highly at this point. In Battlefield 5 and after the Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, it's kind of like, it was like an anti-perfect storm for Battlefield 5 in the sense that it came out after all these big releases. It had all this cynicism around it, and all of its battle royale stuff and loads more. Even its practice mode took a few weeks to actually be added to the game, so it felt half baked when it launched.
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of reasons you can blame Battlefield's performance on, but it still sold over 7 million copies. So
yeah, didn't end up in a landfill. Did not end up in a landfill like another game, ET.
How many games have ended up in landfills after ET? I would love to know.
Yeah.
And where are these other landfills?
Yeah, where are these landfills?
There might be some interesting stuff in those landfills.
Probably.
Yeah.
My last item that I have is from Nintendo Life. Blue, you're gonna be happy about this.
I know, I saw. It's
Hollow
so
Knight,
exciting.
gets an ESRB classification, which suggests it's gonna get a physical release. Because just the reason we talked before, because ESRB ratings don't happen for digital releases, so that's a good sign that a physical copy is in the work.
Yay! Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Would you buy it? Do you own the digital version?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So you double dip on it?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
In fact, I hope they come up with a really killer special edition like they did for Celeste. And I would totally buy it.
Yeah, with the stickers.
Yes, the stickers.
And the cassette tape.
Well, I don't need a cassette tape, and I already downloaded the score anyway from Bandcamp. But yeah, whatever. I'll have it all again. I love it.
Nice. Robert, do you have anything else?
Any other news stuff?
Yeah.
Let's check. Let's have a quick scroll. Let's see.
Are you just going to your site and just checking?
What article do I want to pump up right now?
Yeah.
What article does EA want us to talk
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Oh, look at this! EA says that we're tops. What the heck?
Yeah, EA is
Oh,
the
I know
greatest.
what you can talk about, Robert.
Okay.
From your website, it's the CD Projekt Red is going to compensate the Witcher author.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting story. So, do you know about this at all, Roger, Mike?
Just from what Blue sent over, but yeah, go into it.
Okay, so basically, oh god, what's his name? What's his name, Blue?
I don't know. I just closed the browser.
Oh shit, his name's it's
You're on your own.
So the Polish guy who originally wrote the Witcher books.
Okay,
the Polish guy, yeah, that guy.
Andres Sapkowski.
Sapkowski, something like that.
Yeah.
Let's check. Hold on, let's check. 'Cause I feel like we're doing him injustice, and then you'll probably try and sue me.
No. I'm reading it. That's what it is. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh right. Okay, right. What's his last name, Blue?
Sapkowski.
Sapkowski. Okay. So Sapkowski, he back in the day when CD Projekt Red bought the rights to The Witcher in order to make the first Witcher game, they had to approach him and say, "Hey, we want to buy this. How much do you want for it?" And he said, he had no. Obviously, CD Projekt Red hadn't really done anything by then. They were only like a fledgling little developer. So he basically gave them, I think it was the equivalent of about $9,000, something like that.
Crazy.
Like he asked for $9,000 lump sum, no royalties, from CD Projekt Red and he said himself in a interview way later, I think with Eurogamer or something. He said, "I had no faith in them doing anything with it, being successful with it." And obviously the first game wasn't that successful, and then it was kind of like a bit of a cult classic, and then the second game was a lot more successful, and then the third game was a massive hit, Wild Hunt. So he never saw that coming, and then once Wild Hunt was out, and once they'd got the 2 DLCs out for Wild Hunt, and then they got Gwent, and then they got Thronebreaker, the author basically just turned around and said, "Hey, wait a minute, I could get more money out of this, maybe." So he got his legal team together, they approached CD Projekt Red, he demanded $16 million.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
In royalties for like years and years, so we're talking about like from because the way he put it was, or the way his legal team put it was, that he only got paid for the first game, which is kind of like, it's a bit weird. And apparently there's some, I don't know how true this is, but apparently there's some Polish legal loopholes in it, in the sense that there are certain laws or whatever that state that it kind of keeps. What am I trying to say? It's getting legal now. Okay, forget it. Right. So basically,
like a statute of limitations.
Yeah, it's like it's to stop people from being ripped off as far as royalties go. So like you've always got kind of like a back-in by the legal system in order to kind of have a point of your own property. So he goes up to CD Projekt Red, says, "Okay, $60 million." CD Projekt Red put out a public statement basically saying, "No, this is never going to happen," and it's just baseless accusations. And it was never going to happen. He's never going to get $16 million out of a company as big as CD Projekt Red now. But they did eventually compensate him, and that news came out just last week.
That's crazy.
So, but we don't know how much they did compensate him, but it was obviously a lot less than $16 million. I imagine it will have been like, they came to an understanding, so I don't think there was any courtrooms involved. It was just kind of, look, we'll give you this if you get off our back. And CD Projekt Red said it was a good thing as well, because it means they can keep up good relations with them, which is, which is nice, I suppose.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean,
I would love to look at that first contract. That sounds like that was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't even a contract. It sounds like it was written down on a napkin.
Yeah, pretty much.
I owe you $9,000. Okay, thanks.
And I heard that before. I heard that that he didn't think anything of it. He's just like, yeah, this is never gonna happen. Like, you're not gonna make anything out of this.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Versus the creators of Superman. I always think back to that these two high school kids were swindled out of Superman. I mean, Action Comics came up and were like, yeah, we'll buy that comic book from you. Like these two 17-year-old kids, and they bought it for like, I don't know, like $100 or something really cheap. I don't remember what it was, but it was really a ripoff. And these two kids like ended up getting screwed over Action Comics. Like that to me, I think is a tragedy. This to me, I feel like the guy was just like, yeah, whatever. Like you can, and I get it. I mean, being a person that does write, fiction as well, like I get it. Like, but in the same sense,
how do you get it?
Well, I mean, the fact that it's like, boy, I would like to see that money come to my pocket too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, also you should be like, okay, these are my characters and this is my property, and I am going to maintain some sort of control and stay in touch with this. Don't just here's my $9,000. Do what you want with it.
I know, and that's what, I mean, kind of relating back to comic books, but Bob Kane did the same thing. Bob Kane was like, yeah, you can have Batman, but I'm going to get royalties. I'm going to get, he was really smart about it, and he made tons of money off of Batman.
Hell, you can even look at George Lucas and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the rights to the merch. You can have everything else, okay.
Yeah, and they thought he was a fool.
Idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, yeah. Toys. Yeah, nobody's going to do that. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy money to begin with, like how much money those games are making, Project Red is making. But it's funny, my brother lives in Poland, and I asked him once, so, do you know Project Red? He's like, yeah, everybody in Poland knows Project Red.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's like, there's that famous story about how President Obama visited Poland, and they gave him a copy of The Witcher 2.
Yes.
Like, publicly, like, just handed over a copy, like, this is our nation's greatest export, take it. And he was like, thanks. I wonder if he played it.
Took it right to GameStop.
Wait, is that Polish? Don't you have Polish vodka or anything else? This is what you're going to give to me.
That's awesome, though. I like that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Anything else from anyone?
I'm good.
We're all good.
All right, then we'll move into our next area, which is the listener feedback. So listeners, you can always give us feedback. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC, send us an email at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can also go to Facebook, or you can go to our website at gamerheadspodcast.com and leave us a message there. So this last week, we asked our listeners, what video game boss do you hate going against the most? And here are some of your responses. So Mike, do you want to take the first one?
Sure. At producer BTW tweeted, back when I played Destiny, this annoying dude Crota, son of Oryx, was a pain in my butt. I remember that. Yeah, that was always a really tough battle.
Yeah, I don't remember that because I didn't play the first Destiny game.
Well, I told him... Oh, go ahead.
Which one is this again? Crota?
Yes, Crota.
Is he the guy from The Taken King?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he was a bit of a pain. Does he mean the first time you fight him, or does he mean like the giant ghost version that you fight in the raid?
It doesn't say in particular, but I'm sure it's probably that second one.
Yeah, he was a real pain, definitely.
Yeah.
I never played the first Destiny game, so
I was saying it's not so bad as oh geez, now I don't even remember her name. The lady who screamed.
Oh yeah.
Constantly.
Oh man.
Oh my god. It was like just kill her. Just hurry up and kill her so she'll shut up. Jeez, what was her name?
Were you a Destiny player, Blue? Or are you a Destiny player?
No, I don't play, but my husband plays it kind of obsessively, and so I am intimately familiar with all of the things that happen in Destiny. Omnigul, that was her name, Omnigul.
Yep.
Oh, her, yeah.
Yeah, every time he redid an Omnigul mission, I'm like, again? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, funny. Robert, would you mind taking the next one?
Okay. Where are we? Okay. Crunchy Kong, which is a good name. At Crunchy Kong. I hate fighting Slash in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. He blocks everything and eats lives. I can beat Tyson when I'm drunk, so definitely not him. Lol.
And I've seen him do it.
Really? Beat Tyson drunk?
Yeah, he used to do streams every Friday night, him and his buddy, where they would get drunk and play games, and it's really amazing, actually.
Wow.
What they could do, I could
skill.
never.
We need to start getting like esports competitors drunk before they play to find out the real champions.
It's actually a future stream for us. Robert and I are going to get drunk and play
Smash Bros.
Play Smash Bros. And it'll be the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Drunk streams require a camera, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I have a camera. I do stream on our Gamerheads Twitch page, and you can see me on Saturday mornings. But I'm not drunk on Saturday mornings. I'm not even hungover. So Blue, do you want to take the next one?
Sure, this is from Great Siaman81, and he tweeted the Grim Reaper from original Castlevania, Yellow Devil from Mega Man, Mike Tyson and Seth from Street Fighter 4 are a few I could think of.
Yeah, Grim Reaper from original Castlevania just is hard.
I think the
overall.
hardest, not even a boss, but those freaking Medusa heads in
Hate 'em.
Castlevania, they get my blood boiling.
I know,
Oh
I
yeah, there's a
can-
few enemies in loads of different Castlevania games that are just a pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah, I and Yellow Devil from Mega Man, Mike.
Not if you know the trick.
Oh,
No, there's a trick, secret strat.
Oh yeah, if you use a Lekman's lightning bolt attack and you repeatedly hit pause right when it hits the Yellow Devil, every time you unpause, it registers a hit. So with like 1 or 2 shots, you could take it out just by spamming the pause button.
or getting the Super
Ooh.
NES, or no, not the Super NES, the NES Advantage, and putting on that slow motion thing.
Oh yeah.
I used to do
Yep.
that in Blaster Master. That's how I
Okay.
took out some bosses that way. So.
Alright, so did you hear that, Great Siaman81?
Yeah.
That's the trick. That's how you get
That's the
past
trick.
Yellow Devil.
He'll be off your list.
Great Saiyaman hasn't been able to beat Mega Man since 1987.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, I know now. I can do it now. A bright light comes shining in through the ceiling, and you hear the angelic voices.
That's funny.
This next one comes from the true Donnie G, and they tweeted after this weekend, Bison, definitely Bison. That's from Street Fighter. So
Oh yeah.
that's in reference to the Retro Games Brew High Schooler Challenge. So last weekend, or was it last weekend? Yeah, that was Street
It
Fighter.
was last week, yeah.
Yeah. And this weekend is Super R-Type, and boy, that game is hard. Anyway.
I thought I was doing really well at Super R-Type. I did 271,000.
That's really good.
And
That's
I was
200,000 more than I have.
and I posted the score early, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so good!" And now I'll be lucky to stay in the top 10 because the weekend's going on and everybody's figuring it out.
The last one here that we have. Mike, do you want to take the last one?
Sure, this comes from @Billionaires XP. The final boss from Rogue Galaxy. You have to fight with every party member alone, and then one climactic finish. One slip up, and you have to do it all over again. Those are
Yeah.
always. Oh, I hate those ones where you have to. You get like 90% through it, and then you die, and then here we go again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Checkpoints.
Rogue Galaxy was a tough
Yep.
game. Well, not massively tough, but there were definitely difficulty spikes throughout it. Got really hairy at points.
Robert, do you have any bosses or bad guys that you absolutely hate taking out?
Let's think. Yeah, I think a few Destiny bosses come to mind. In the sense that they weren't really difficult, but like ones that had awful attacks that you had to avoid, and then like they had a ton of health, so it felt like we're chipping them down tiny bits at a time. I think that's more of like a game design issue than actual difficulty, though.
Yeah.
Come back to us. I'll think of something.
All right. I think of Monster Hunter World, or Monster Hunter, actually, any Monster Hunter game.
God, the Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
Especially the tempered ones, it gets a bit annoying.
That's why I don't know. Those games kind of anyway. They make my blood boil.
Rabbit Trail.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on then to what games we're currently playing. So, Robert, since you're our guest, why don't you start us off? What games are you currently playing?
I've been playing the Division 2 beta this weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
I played the Division 1 for a little bit when it launched. Or maybe it was... No, I must have played the beta. And I thought it was okay. But I never actually bought it because I was just too busy with other stuff around then. And then I got it a couple of years later, not that long ago. Maybe it was last year. On sale for like $5 or something off the PlayStation Store.
Wow. Yeah.
I thought that's pretty good. And I played maybe like the first 8 hours, something like that, and I just bounced off it completely. A mixture of just kind of being busy and it not really holding my attention. But the Division 2 seems pretty good. I played like about maybe 6 hours of the beta over the weekend, and I thought it was with friends and stuff as well. And
Nice.
it got addictive very quickly.
Nice.
So it was fun.
Much more so than the first game, it sounds like, then?
I think it's got some quality of life improvements that are good, and the world kind of feels more alive. In the Division 1, you know how you have like the snowy New York was the setting.
Yeah.
And
this one's in
it kind
DC, right?
Yeah, this one's in Washington D.C., which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like the White House is one of like your main base of operations, which is quite
Nice.
cool.
That's cool.
And you go to different places. You go to find the what do you go to find? Declaration of Independence. You go to like secure it from the bad guys.
Do you
Wait,
steal
is
it?
this National Treasure? What is this?
Do you steal
Yeah.
it?
No, it's like it's locked away in a vault, and you kind of have to fight your way into the vault and open it up and get it and take it back, and it's supposed to raise the morale of the resistance.
But it would disintegrate.
Well,
Because it would hit the air and it would disintegrate.
are you really gonna ask a video game to be that accurate?
That's a good point, though. But yep, I think the world just feels generally like more alive than it did in the Division 1. I mean, the Division 1, it was like kind of set in like winter, and you had the snow in New York and stuff. But it kind of felt like unless you were in a mission, there was nothing to do. And then just from the beta alone, it seems like there's always something going on. There's always like a dynamic mission, or there's always like a party of like roaming enemies kind of going around doing their thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So it just seems a lot more kind of busy, which is nice.
Now I kind of want to. Now I'm kind of interested in this game. So before I was just going to be like, I'm not really into shooters. Like I'm just not that. It doesn't really interest me. But this sounds kind of cool. And being a history major, it sounds really fun and fascinating. So cool. Anything else you're playing?
Did a little bit of Monster Hunter World with like new quests and stuff. Oh, they did the the Witcher quest.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter. That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Like the amount of the depth that they went to Capcom. Like, I don't want to spoil anything in case anybody hasn't played it, but
isn't
it's
that
very
crazy?
good. Yeah,
it's crazy how they're doing all these crossovers.
Yeah, but the Witcher one's just like above and beyond everything that you'd expect of a free update.
Really?
Yeah, it's very good.
And that game's on sale right now, at least in the US. There's that flash sales going
Yeah, I think it's like half off, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah.
Cool. Now I kind of...
But this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem now. Like, we've got
is.
so many... you think of like Destiny, Monster Hunter, you've got Anthem coming up, then you've got the Division 2, and it's all these games that demand your time constantly. Even things like Fortnite with the Battle Pass and, unlock the next skin and do this and... you've got all these like live service games, and it's going to get to a point where you're kind of like, what the hell am I supposed to play? Am I supposed to divvy up the time equally between all of them, or do I just stick to one and abandon the others? You can't play them all.
Yeah. That's why I always envy people that are just like, I'm going to stick to one game, and that's all I'm playing, and I'm going to get good at that game. Like Fortnite, like those that play Fortnite, Like, I envy them because I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. But I feel like I can't because I don't know. That's just not how I'm wired, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Is it, or is it because there's not actually enough content in games like Fortnite to keep you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there's
That's
a bit of
probably
that,
actually
isn't
true.
it?
If you find a game that's just, it's perfect to you and it speaks to you, it's easy to sit there and be exclusive with it.
Yeah.
Be monogamous with this game.
Yeah.
But
it's even like if say you play just like a traditional linear game that lasts like 6-10 hours, whatever. But if you really connect with that, then you're going to replay it.
mm-hmm.
So it kind of like, I think it balances out.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like any number of like RPGs that take 80 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just these games like Destiny and The Division and Anthem and blah blah blah. Like they don't really have an end. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
We're kind of moving away from this idea that once the credits roll, you're not done with the game because these publishers don't want you selling it, or they want you engaged constantly.
Yeah.
Keep it ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, that's how it was with World of Warcraft. I mean, And I feel like, I mean, I know there was other games before that, but I feel like World of Warcraft was really the first one that kind of set the tone for where we're at right now with the amount of content, like you were saying, Robert.
It introduces this like its own ecosystem to keep pulling you back in. Daily quests, weekly quests. This, yeah.
Anything else? That's a lot, but if
that's... No, I've been playing enough. I'm sick of video games.
What about you, Blue? What have you been playing?
So I played a good amount of Super R-Type.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that I played this week was I finished up Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
And then I will tell you all about that shortly.
Nice. What about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
So I've been playing a little bit more Smash and Red Dead, of course. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. But another game that I played on the Switch is a game called Evoland Legendary Edition. And I'll have information on that. I'll have a full review and everything. But I must say, without giving... Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. You were taking a deep breath.
I have that. I just got that code from the Loot Gaming. It looks so cool.
I was like thrown back. One of the problems with the Switch, as much as I look forward to every Thursday, there's just a sea of new games that come out, and some really good ones can get easily lost in this shuffle. And this Evoland is one of those games, and I'm having an absolute blast with it. Like I don't get a chuckle out of many games, but this game has given me a few good laughs. So I'm really enjoying it so far.
Nice. Do you know who else is reviewing that game too? Christian. I think he's reviewing it.
Oh, we shall all have dueling reviews.
Yeah.
And then
who's not playing that game?
Win.
Me.
Oh.
Not yet, at least. I might pick it up. So.
And then this other game, I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to. But I have to share this. So I've been on a bit of a quest, and I got some assistance from a side character, Brian from the Controller Thrower Show, because he's out in Iowa, and he was able to find a GameStop, and he's gonna get it out to me. We were able to locate a good copy of the Wii classic game Deadly Creatures.
Oh, you got one!
Yes.
I cannot wait for you to stream this. For real.
So once it gets in my hands, I'm gonna start streaming it. So if you love, scorpion on tarantula action, then not that kind of action.
You need to clarify that.
Yeah.
What kind of babies are we talking about here?
Scorplantulas.
And that's how the world ends.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I've been playing this week.
Nice. For myself, I have dived in, no pun intended, into Apex Legends, and I will say that my squad came in second place. That's right, second place. No thanks to me whatsoever. But
what are you playing it on?
Xbox right now, but I'm gonna get it for the PS4 as well, because it's free. Why not? So, but my squad, like, so I was playing with Kyle from the Real Dudes podcast, and he said, okay, so he says, do you know how to use your special powers? And I'm like, no, I don't. What special powers? He's like, no, like each character has its like own like special abilities, and yours is you can call it an airstrike. So you like throw this grenade, and it'll call it an airstrike. So now we're down to the last two, and he's like, so when we get close to them, throw the grenade, call in the airstrike, distract them, and we'll take them out. And I said, I think you're putting a lot of weight on my shoulders to win this game.
Come on, Roger. Time to soldier up.
There's a reason that I didn't do anything like the military, because I don't feel like I could do this at all. He's like, no, I have faith in you. I'm like, you have misplaced your faith, because there's no way I can do this. And so we're crawling around this corner, and it's like a battle royale where the circle keeps getting smaller and smaller, and there's the group, and I take my grenade, and I throw it. And I don't know what happened next. I died, and that was the end. And that was...
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I said, I threw the grenade. Did you see that, Kyle? He's like, yep, I saw it.
I did good, right?
Yeah, that's what you wanted me to do, right? Yep. I was like the Gomer Pyle of...
Shazam!
Shazam! I threw the grenade just like you asked me to.
Gomer who now?
So I played that. I also played Commander Keen came out on the Switch.
Yeah, I watched you do that.
Yeah. So
It was frustrating.
Blue, it's super hard. That game is super hard. Do you know Commander Keen, Blue?
No.
Do you know Commander Keen, Robert?
I don't think so.
So this is an old computer game, and the reason I liked Commander Keen as a kid is because he wears a Green Bay Packer helmet.
Really?
Yep.
It's an id software IP.
It's software. Yep.
Oh.
And it is really hard. That game is really brutally hard. And I played a little bit of that. And then I also played some more Airheart, which we'll be talking about in a little bit here. And did I stream something else, Mike? Wasn't there something else
You
I
streamed R-Type.
Oh, yeah, I
But I
streamed
missed
Yeah.
it.
Yep. So, like, yeah, Blue, I'm not good at that game at all.
That first mech boss, man, every time.
Oh, yeah, that boss
He
kills
moves
me.
weird. I don't
He does
like
move
him.
weird. I couldn't figure out his pattern, and I was like,
He doesn't have
you.
one.
Yeah. it's
Everything
weird.
else in the game has a pattern. He doesn't have one.
Yeah, so I struggled with him. So I'm gonna play it probably some more today before the contest closes. But yeah, I'm 200,000 points behind you. So
Well, don't feel bad. It'll probably be another Bupkis week where we don't get any points.
yeah. Well, you will. I don't think I will, but you will.
I don't know. I've been watching the scores coming in, and I am moving down the leaderboard.
Well, you were 7th last time I checked.
Yeah, 7th.
That's
Only 10 people get points.
I know. Well, you know where I'm going to be placing? 30th. That's right. 30th. Last place. Anyway, that's what we've been playing. So let's go into I'm going to press pause here and we'll go into our Gamerheads select menu game review section. And now joining us is Christian. Christian,
Hi, aka
welcome.
Fulgen.
AKA Fulgen. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you.
So in this segment, our Gamerheads select menu review section. I just made that up right now. So Christian and Blue is with us as well, and we're gonna talk about a couple games that we're reviewing. We're gonna be talking about Kingdom Hearts. I want to hear both of your final thoughts on Kingdom Hearts since you both beat the game, and I have not even played it. So I want to hear what you guys have to say, and then we'll talk about the Layer Princess and the Blind Prince, because you reviewed that, Christian, and then I'll also talk about Airheart Tales of Broken Wings. That's what I'm reviewing right now. So, all right, let's go into the Layer Princess and the Blind Prince. So Christian, you played that,
Mm-hmm.
and can you tell us about the game? What's the
Sure,
game about?
sure. So, this Liar Princess and the Blind Prince is like this macabre fairy tale where you control the princess, who's actually a wolf, who likes singing in the woods, and the prince likes listening to the wolf sing in the woods. And so the prince tries to get closer to the wolf, and then the wolf scratches his eyes out on accident. And then,
On accident.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
do you do that accidentally?
You know, her powers, she can't control her strength, Roger. It's too
Oh,
much.
Okay.
So the wolf claws his eyes out, and then his family like disowns him because of it, and then he
Wait,
goes
what?
to jail.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it gets
Keep
pretty
going.
rough.
I'm with you.
It gets rough fast.
Okay.
But yeah, so
they didn't hunt her down. They decided to jail him instead because he's blind.
yeah, they
Wow.
didn't like him, I guess,
Wow.
anymore.
Wow.
And so he's in jail, and then you're the wolf, and you feel bad, so you go to a witch, and she allows you to transform into a princess because he says, I could really use a princess to help me right now, or something like that. And then you control of the wolf, who can also transform into a princess, and you lead the prince on his way back to the witch. So you're trying to get back to the witch in order to give him his sight back.
Oh.
And it's really charming. Yeah, that's what I liked a lot about it, is the story. It's very cutesy. It, like I said, it's got the fairy tale vibe. Yeah, clawing eyes out, but I mean, come on. All of those old fairy tales are screwed up, man.
Yeah, that's true.
I know, this is why I wouldn't call them cutesy, but okay.
Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, I really like that about it. It's got these like little story bits, these little cutscenes where you just get like the hand-drawn art, the characters, they look really nice. The art is fantastic. You'll get these stills that look like they're out of like a hand-drawn storybook or something. Those look fantastic. The art's really great. And then the gameplay is just a really basic puzzle platformer. That's all it is. And I feel like that's kind of the worst thing about the game, is having to play it, because it's just left, right, jump, and then you can transform into a wolf, and that makes you invincible, but pretty much, and it makes you jump higher, but you just like transform into a wolf to get to a spot to like pull a lever or whatever, and then just walk the prince the rest of the way, maybe kill a bad guy or two. And it's very simple. The gameplay doesn't really go anywhere interesting or anywhere thought-provoking. I mean, it's a puzzle game, but a lot of the puzzles are just push this switch and then you can go on. Or there's one which does this thing that's my pet peeve, where, okay, you're walking through this level and then you get to this area, right? And then there's these 3 number switches, right? You gotta have the right combination to open the door. And the hint is count the colors of the lamps that were in the level. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was just walking back through the level with a piece of paper being like, okay, blue 7, red 8. And that was like 10 minutes wasted. And that was one of the most interesting puzzles the game had, which was kind of frustrating, because the rest of it's just kind of putting a thing on a switch and then letting everything happen. But the gameplay is a feast for the eyes. I mean, it's really gorgeous. The animations are a little stiff when you're playing, but if you look at any still image of the game, it looks great. And I believe the physical edition comes with a storybook, because it's called the Storybook Edition. Ooh. So I want to say that's like perfect, because this game, they have the art down, they've got the story down. You know, just make a book about it, and then yes, that is perfect. It feels kind of like they tried to force this into a game when it didn't necessarily have to be.
So do you think it would have been better as just a visual novel then? Is that what you're thinking?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I think so, but I mean, that's my personal opinion. I mean, I'd take a really neat visual novel like this that's got gorgeous art and a fun story any day over like having to play like subpar action adventure gameplay in between.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
So, who do you think this game is geared towards then? I mean, it seems like the puzzles are easy and it sounds like the gameplay is pretty basic. So, I mean, do you think this is geared towards more younger adults or younger audience?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I feel like maybe like the young adult range would probably be what this is best for. Maybe people who like how it looks and kind of just want to play a game that they don't really need to understand mechanical complexity for, because it's pretty simple. It's not difficult to control or anything like that. So yeah, I'd probably say people who look at the art and like what they see, because if you look at the logo, it's very like muted. You get a lot of grays, you get a lot of like browns. And it sounds unattractive, but they do a really good job with it. It's got the nice, muted, macabre look to it, which I liked a lot.
I know. I'm so disappointed to hear that you didn't really like the gameplay, because I saw this and I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to check that out. I was looking forward to it.
If the gameplay controlled a little bit better, it would be a lot easier to recommend. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, the visuals reminded me a lot of Hollow Knight, too, which is great.
See?
But Yeah, but the animations are a little more stiff. I mean, Hollow Knight's nice and smooth, and all those characters have that like nice cartoony look to them. Here, everything's a little stiffer. So in the gameplay department, it doesn't feel as good. But it looks great. Looks awesome.
Is there voice acting in this game?
There is, but only for story cutscene portions.
Okay.
And it is only in Japanese.
Ooh.
So you get that original dialogue. It's good. There's a lady who's like narrating, and it sounds good.
Nice. So yeah, you played that on the Switch, and I think
Yes.
that's out on the Switch. What is that also on PS4 too?
I believe so. Yes,
I think so.
That sounds right.
Well, I shouldn't say it out. It's coming out Tuesday.
Tuesdays,
on the
yes.
12th, right?
Yep, the 12th.
Okay, great. Yeah, and then your review is up on our site. And what was your final grade on that?
I gave it a solid passing C.
Nice. All right, thanks, Christian. All right, I'm gonna go into my review of Airheart. So my review is still being written. I'm almost done with it. I just have to add a few things that I want to finish, and then I'll get it on the site. And then I have to pass it by a reviewer, which is on our show with us right now. So, who is that?
Mysterious.
Yeah. So Airheart is a tale of a young woman who is out for fame and glory to hunt down the sky whale. So she's a fisherman, an air pilot fisherman.
It's Moby Dick in the sky.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh.
It kind of is, with a lot of like steampunk kind of feel to it, and
Nice.
also there's a little bit of a feel of like Firefly, and a little bit just because the music is very like. The music is like probably the biggest standout of this game. It's awesome. I love the music in this game. It's very folksy. It's very like it's very like Firefly, like the music you might have heard in the background of Firefly.
What kind of instruments are we talking about?
Like guitar, and
Yeah.
there might be some violin and
Some strings?
some strings in there. Yep. And what's cool about it is that so the game starts off, and you are a pilot of this little plane, and you're in this hangar, and you go through the tutorial, and I would suggest going through the tutorial, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. But once you finish the tutorial, then you fly this plane around and you catch fish, and you can go up 2 levels, and as you go up in levels, there's more fish, but then there's also sky pirates that are out there to basically destroy your ship, and then there's bosses at the end of each like 3 tiers. And that's it's cool. It's like a top-down look, and it's a twin stick shooter, so you have one stick that's controlling your plane and the other one's controlling where you're shooting your weapons. And I'm playing it on the Switch, and the right trigger button is to shoot your guns, and the left one is to shoot your harpoon. And so you can either harpoon the fish to pull them in, or to hold them there, and then you can go get them. Or you can, what I've been doing is harpooning enemy planes, and using those as weapons and swing them around and smashing them into things.
That sounds cool.
It is cool. So it's pretty frantic, I will say that. As you go up in levels, you make it past the first boss, and then the next levels are there's just pirates everywhere. It's crazy. But as you earn money by collecting the fish, and then you can use the money to either buy new weapons or buy new parts for your plane, or you can craft your items. So all the pieces that you pick up while you destroy planes and stuff like that, you can use those to craft. So it's a really cool mechanic. And the other thing that they do really well is so that way you don't just grind at the easy levels. They basically you fished out an area, so that they force you to go up. They're like, oh, there's no more fish in this area.
You're
the population
destroying
is
the sky ecosystems.
You kind of are, actually.
Jeez.
Now that you mentioned that, maybe the pirates are not actually all that bad.
Overfishing.
Maybe the pirates are really the sea shepherd in disguise. Anyway. So you overfish the area, and then you go on to the next one to overfish that area. And there's also planes that are not pirates, and they also collect fish too, so you kind of have to beat them at collecting the fish. So that's really cool. So those are the things I really liked about it. The things that I struggled with the game is the tutorial's there, and they tell you a little bit about crafting, but man, that's it. Like recipes, like you got to come up with that on your own, and you spend money or resources to craft. Thank God for the internet. I will say that.
Cheater.
There's a really nice Steam page that goes through all of the.
Oh, nice.
recipes out there. But if it wasn't for that, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm building here, because it doesn't really walk you through that a whole lot, and I wish there was more of that. There's also like big zeppelins that fly around that are not enemies. There's actually good guys, and I didn't really know what they were for at first either, and then I picked up that they're used as like drop off, so you can drop off resources, so you can use them to drop off your fish, so in case your plane gets destroyed, that you're not losing all that resource that you earned. So I don't know how they, I mean, outside of like an instruction booklet, maybe even an electronic instruction booklet, I don't know how they could have like explained that very well, because there's a lot going on in a screen, so you can't really explain it on the UI. But those are just things that you have to learn on your own. But I'm really enjoying this game. It's I will say it's challenging, because once you get past that first boss, I will say the difficulty just ramps up, and I'm like, wow, this is really hard. But it's really fun. And if you like twin stick shooters and you want something that has like a roguelike feel to it, and then also some crafting aspects to it, this is certainly a game for you then.
Would you say, Roger, it's a little too hard? Because usually twin stick shooters are infamous for being very difficult.
Twin stick shooters. Are you kidding me?
I wouldn't see. Here's the thing. Like, I wouldn't say that it's too hard. Like, I played the one. What was the one that came out just a couple years ago? That was this twin stick shooter that everybody was raving about, and it was made by the same people that came out with the arcade twin stick shooter that's really popular. Gosh, now I don't remember. But Resogun, I know that's not the one I was thinking of, but I played that. I like that game. I'm pretty good at that game. I wouldn't say it's really like impossible difficult, but it gets. The thing is, the challenging part is that there's just like no space. There's just tons of these pirate ships just flying all over the place. And they do tend to like shoot at each other too, so they're not always cool. If you can maneuver around them, you can get them to shoot at each other, so that's kind of neat. But it's hard. I will say the difficulty just ramps up really fast.
It sounds like there's a lot you got to keep track of with catching the fish and also taking care of the enemies. Yeah, and then watching your ship overall health. Oh yeah.
And then that's also the other challenging part. So if you're really high, so as you go up in level, I would have loved to see this on the 3DS, because as you go up, you can see the level below you. It is smaller, but it's now it's below you, and as you keep going up, you can see the lower, and then your home base gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then if you want to return home, you have to hit the down button on the pad, and you have to maneuver your ship going down through each of these levels to get back to your home.
Interesting.
Not to hit. So each level has like little islands of rock and like trees and stuff like that, and you get to avoid all that stuff, all the obstacles. So it's an interesting twist on the twin stick shooter for sure. So I haven't given it a score yet, but I'm hoping that the review will be up this week, and then you can go check that out on our site. So. All right, now.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
The moment. Let's hear, what are your final thoughts on Kingdom Hearts? So, Blue, let's start with you, since Christian and I were just talking for the last 16 minutes.
Overall, I don't know, because we've been waiting for this game for how long? Like 14, 15 years, something like that. And I don't know if any game can match that much time of anticipation in a lot of ways. But overall, I really, really liked it. It's what I thought it was going to be for the most part. I think it's really fun. We talked about the first half of the game last week, basically, where you run around the Disney World, and then this weekend I've been playing the second half of the game. And like story-wise, it feels like things finally got going, but then a lot of the battles are just so frustrating. Like they feel on the verge of being unfair.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say without giving away spoilers.
Mhm.
But it's, like you're trying to fight the end boss, and it's like, okay, ready, fight, and then right away he's like bam 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 with like 4 like lightning balls, and you don't even have a chance to move. So right off the bat you're taking 4 hits and you just started. And then at any time, of course, like he's warping around and he's all over the battlefield,
Mhm.
and then like he's coming at you from every which way, and you can't usually see where he's coming from. And if you happen to miss a block, then you're going to take the next 3 hits, and there's no way to get away from it, kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's just, I don't know. What do you think, Christian?
That's interesting that you bring that up. The difficulty with Kingdom Hearts 3 was something I was kind of disappointed in, actually. I played on Proud, the hardest difficulty, mostly because I'm coming off of like playing on like critical mode on Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, so I'm kind of used to that very difficult challenge where a couple hits and you're done. And I really like that about Kingdom Hearts because I feel like a lot of the weaknesses in the combat system kind of melt away as soon as you go on that hardest difficulty, because if you're on like beginner, like how I played growing up, that's perfect for like kids or other people who just want to play the story, because a lot of the time you can just press X and get through everything you need to. And people say that Kingdom Hearts is a button masher because of that, because you can just get through the game by just tapping X, and there's really not much of a reason to use everything else that you have, because there's just mechanic on top of mechanic on top of mechanic in the combat. But with Kingdom Hearts 3, I felt like it was a little too easy, where I was playing on Proud, and I was like very underleveled for the last portion where you have to fight quite a few bosses. And I wasn't having any problems, really. I mean, I was making mistakes, but the game was only sort of punishing me for it. I mean, it took away like a quarter of my health bar, if that, when I really screwed up. So I could kind of just, meander through it on a low level with like the resources that I had. I didn't really have to sweat or anything like that in order to defeat the bosses that were there. But I think there were rumors about them adding another higher difficulty, which I'd really like to see, because I think the combat really shines when you're forced to use everything that you have at your disposal, which I was kind of disappointed that the moment-to-moment combat didn't have that.
Well, perhaps you are a far more advanced gamer than I.
Oh no, I'm just coming off playing so many Kingdom Hearts games that I was looking. The combat's great. I was just looking for something, that could just really pound my face into the dirt, like that Roxas fight in Kingdom Hearts 2. Boy, I retried that like 50 times, just trying again and again and again. And here, I think I game overed like twice. I maybe died 3 times throughout the whole thing.
This is Christian we're talking about, so
I suppose so. I mean, yeah, okay, if we're being fair, it's really not until the very, very final boss that I've been struggling, like up until the very final boss. Like the fights were just kind of more annoying, like where you have to chase the Lich around, and 6 times it's the same fight.
Yep,
6 times.
over and over.
That I thought was just kind of annoying. But yeah, then it was the very final boss, and he warps everywhere, and you can never get a lock on him. You can never hardly catch him to get a few hits in, let alone, like I explained, if you miss a block. I don't know, it's just, it feels like you're working really hard, you're not really getting anything done.
Yeah.
So, and I died 3 times. So I guess to me, that's annoying, whereas you were going, oh, that's so easy. I wanted to be killed 50 times.
Yeah, I'm a masochist.
So is the combat so much different than the other 2 games that, I mean, are the boss battles very similar, or are they different? How is that, and how is the combat? Is that completely different?
Well, I think the combat can be as different as you want it to be. Like Christian was explaining, there's a gazillion mechanics. Like you can use whichever ones you want.
Okay.
I didn't use, like for example, the attraction attacks. I didn't use those like hardly ever through the whole game. I feel like they took too much time. They were neat the first few times, but then they get triggered like constantly, and so then they're not special anymore. And then also, like, you
Yeah.
get to the end and you're fighting Ansem, and you're like, I'm not going to fight Ansem with teacups. It just feels wrong.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, the weird thing is that those attractions, they change the music sometimes. And then I think in the last battle, I don't think they changed the music, but in some other ones, there's like this really dramatic music. It's like, look what's happening. This is so emotional. And then you hop in the teacups and it's like,
Yep.
doody 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 doody.
Yep, exactly. I think
That's really cool.
yeah, they're fine in like the normal worlds, but then when you got to the second half of the game, it's like, no,
Yeah.
we're gonna retire these.
Yeah,
So-
for the gameplay, it's just insane. There's just like they've integrated and crammed in like every major combat mechanic in all the previous Kingdom Hearts games into this, which is bonkers and insane. And especially the last couple, like Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance, added a lot of weird things to the combat. Like Birth by Sleep had the thing where if you do a bunch of combos with a certain type of thing, you'll get a finisher on triangle. And when you get that finisher, it'll be based on whatever moves you used in that combo. That's here in Kingdom Hearts 3. And so, like, triangle is used for so many things. It's used for those attractions that'll randomly pop up. It'll be used for buddy attacks that randomly pop up, like the rocket with Buzz and Woody that Blue mentioned in the last podcast.
Yeah.
That's randomly pops up on triangle. Or like an anti-form is, or not anti-form, what is it? Rage form?
Rage
something?
form. I like
That's it.
that.
Yeah, it's cool. It'll randomly pop up on triangle, but there's like so many things that'll pop up on triangle. You have like 5 things stacked up, and they all have timers, and it's like, hey, are you going to use this yet? Are you going to use this yet?
Yeah.
And
And you
it
don't
would
want to
be
use
nice-
the bottom one. You want to use like the third one.
Exactly, yeah, because
Also,
if
you can't select which one you want to use.
no, exactly,
Yeah,
you
you
have to use
can.
the most recent one. You can?
Yeah, you can use the L1 button to scroll which one you want.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Blue. This is going to
you're
be so
welcome.
much better for the next
I
100
just
hours
made
I'm going to
him
spend in
better.
Kingdom Hearts. You did. The game just got a lot better. But yeah, there's just so much going on with the combat. But like the basics are pretty much the same. I feel like what they got really right with this, for the most part, is the balancing. Because in the past couple portable entries, the balancing was a little off. Like in Birth by Sleep, there was like a certain combination that you'd want to use. You'd want to use spells in a certain way so that you could get a certain finisher and just blow everything up. And with Dream Drop Distance, there was a balloon spell. And if you ever watch a speedrun of Dream Drop Distance, it's just them using the balloon spell forever because it's overpowered and it's the only good thing. And there's also a flow motion in Dream Drop Distance, which is also a little overpowered. So you're just incentivized to use the same things over and over and over. Whereas
Yeah.
with Kingdom Hearts 3, that's not the case, which I really enjoyed. They nerfed flow motion, which came back, which is when you like dash into a wall and then do an attack. And
Well,
there's... Yeah, go ahead, Blue.
They do still have flow motion, but
They do.
It's really limited.
It is.
Hmm.
You can't go as far in like Dream Drop Distance. You're going super fast, all over the place all the time. And here, it's not. They limit your movement options in that department. But the Keyblade swinging's still the same. You get like a bunch of Keyblade transformations, where if you do a combo with your Keyblade, it turns into a different weapon that has its own combos and it has its
Yeah.
own magic.
It makes it
animations.
really fun. Yeah, it makes it really fun to choose and switch between Keyblades. It changes everything up.
Definitely. There's just so much variety with these games. That's why I like these main entries in Kingdom Hearts, because the polish is just ridiculous. The amount of attention to detail that went into these games is just ridiculous. Because there's like dozens of weapons here that they've crammed into this game that have all their own animations, all their own things. It's just crazy.
All right, so what about the story itself? So, were you satisfied at the end? I mean, do they leave the door open for this to continue? What? I mean, without giving spoilers, what were your thoughts?
I think it ended more or less how I expected.
Mhm.
And you know that they're going to make more of these as long as they can. Perhaps longer than they should, but I have faith.
Yeah. Did you unlock the secret movie, Blue?
No.
I gotcha. The secret movie, you unlock it by finding a certain number of lucky emblems, which is taking picture of the Mickeys in the environment.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
no, I didn't pay much
I
attention
gotcha.
to those yet.
Yeah, it gave me the secret movie because it only needed me to take pictures of like 30 Mickeys playing on Proud, and I think I took a picture of like 32, so it gave it to me. Very weird secret movie. There's interesting stuff in there, but I am very conflicted about how I feel about Kingdom Hearts 3 story. I feel like after seeing everything else and like catching up for months and refreshing myself on everything that happened in Kingdom Hearts, and then playing 3 and just getting into it, and it's just kind of walking through these Disney worlds while you're just kind of like checking in with the other characters for like a few minutes at a time. It felt like a lot of build up for not a lot of actual stuff happening, because I was expecting we would get a lot of time with Axel and Kairi Keyblade training, and we'd get to see them, go off and do their thing, and then Mickey and Riku are off doing their thing, trying to go into the realm of darkness, and you get to play as Riku once, which is cool, and then that's just kind of done, and then that's over, and then the story is just so thin. I felt like for like the first 75%. And then in the last 25%, it just ramps right up. Like it's all this story. It's boom, 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 boom. And it's like all these characters, they're just happening now. All the characters are happening. All the stuff is happening. And for someone who's played all the games, there's been sufficient buildup for me to understand that this moment is like important to understand the emotional payoff that's happening here. Yeah. Whereas with like someone who's new to the franchise, I feel like they would get to that point and not completely, that wouldn't work very well because they didn't get a lot of time with these characters, and like there's reunions that happen, and they're just they just happen in like a couple seconds, and then it's off to the next thing. So I was a little disappointed in that respect. But as far as how it ended, I mean, yeah, like Blue said, it ended kind of how I expected. There's a couple of fun little nuggets in there, like there's a character revelation which I enjoyed in the epilogue video, but. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying at all. It does feel like two separate games, really. Mm-hmm. And then they do, like, for the first part of the game, I feel like they did a good job balancing just a little bit of exposition enough to keep new people interested, but without, like, super bogging it down. I mean, it was slow-paced, like you said, but it could have been so much worse if they really tried to get into it. But then, the second half of the game, there's all these things that happen and a lot of really cool visual moments, I think, especially in the Keyblade Graveyard. But, you won't get the full emotional impact if you haven't played the other games. But I don't think that that's bad. I don't think that you can expect to jump in at the 7th Harry Potter book and understand everything. That's not fair.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just, if you're playing this one first, then that's just what you're going to have to accept, that you're going to miss half of it.
Who's Voldemort? Who's this guy? What's going on? Where's his parents? What? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I get that. It's interesting. I will say, just as somebody that's as a sideline bystander, I guess, just kind of getting both of your reactions. I will say, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's a little bit of a hint of disappointment in both of your voices. I don't know. That's just how I'm perceiving it, but maybe not. Well, but I think, to your point, Blue, I think that things that are so hyped for 16 years, right? Like,
yeah. And then I think also a large part of it, at least personally for me, is that I've changed.
Interesting.
And I know I rarely get hyped for anything, and so like this is a big deal, and it was exactly what I expected. 99% of what I expected. So
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, for me, I'm a little disappointed, like you say, Roger. Kingdom Hearts 2 is still my favorite. Absolutely. I really love Kingdom Hearts 2, and I could just play that forever. This one, I really like the gameplay, and the gameplay is what's going to keep me coming back. I just finished it, and I can't wait to play Kingdom Hearts 3 more, because that gameplay is so good. The combat's really fantastic. And I can just engage with the actual combat, which is what I want to do. Whereas when you had to go through the story stuff, there's little portions here or there that weren't quite dialed in enough. Like there's like the Pirates of the Caribbean level, they make you run around and collect 300 crabs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was an excuse to get you to explore Port Royal, because you do all this sailing, and then you get to an island and it's like, okay, explore this. How do we make the player explore this? Let's make them run around and collect 300 crabs and just run around everywhere.
Right. But you can't explore when you have like something you're meant to be doing. Like
Yeah.
when we went to San Francisco, like that's a big city. I can't
It
wait
is.
to run around, but I didn't want to do it during
Yeah.
my first playthrough of the world because then you've always got Hero in your ear going, "Oh, you got to save so and so."
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they can wait. I'm looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the mission, like the main missions are not conducive to exploring, even if they tried to make them that way.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I know, Christian, you reviewed that for New Games, right?
New Game Network, yeah.
Yeah.
NewGameNetwork.com. That's where my review is.
And what was your final score on that?
I gave it a solid 80. I was kind of disappointed in the story, very backloaded, but the gameplay is fantastic. And that's why I got into Kingdom Hearts in the first place. I mean, when I first played Kingdom Hearts, I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and skipping all the cutscenes and still having a blast. And that's why I feel like even newcomers can jump into Kingdom Hearts 3 and still enjoy that fantastic combat and enjoy hopping in those Disney worlds where everything is very just cordoned off and they're just having fun with their favorite characters.
All right. Well, thank you both. And the listeners, stay tuned because then we'll go into our hot topic next. So, Christian, you're leaving us. Blue, you're staying with us. And we'll be right back. And welcome back to Gamerheads. This week, our hot topic is EA's ongoing battle with single player and online, and just EA's ongoing battle
With common
period.
sense.
Yeah, with common sense. Yeah, common sense isn't always common practice, I was always told. So I have a list of questions here, and we can discuss these questions. And if there's other points that you want to talk about, we can certainly do so as well. My first question, though, actually stems back to our hot topic. And I know, Robert, we kind of talked about this, but we can kind of go in depth with this a little bit more. But do you think EA's response to the reason Battlefield 5 did poorly because of the single player mode was legit? Do you think that's a legit reason? Because here's the reason I struggle with it. Because Game of the Year last year was not a multiplayer game. It was God of War. And it was Sony exclusive even. And there's no online for God of War. And I don't think there's any in the works. Maybe, I don't know. But
it wasn't just God of War too, but and Spider-Man was nominated.
Yeah,
Red Dead,
Spider-Man
and that was
yeah.
before Red Dead Online came in.
Yeah, I mean they weren't nominated for their online, that's for sure.
The last was
So I really struggle with this response, and especially they're like, well, with the holiday season and get pushed because we had to push back our launch. I'm sure they want to launch it sooner, but do you think that's a legit reason? I know that I know that you're on the payroll, Robert, so I guess I want to hear your response first.
Is it a legit reason? I mean, in context, like was said, maybe it's a factor of the fact that you can launch the EA just has to look across the road at Activision and say well, they've managed to release Black Ops 4 with Blackout, and look at how well it's done. Best-selling game in the US last year, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like EA must be kind of like, right, well, we don't need that anymore, and kind of turning around to DICE and saying, look, we can cut costs because we don't need actors, we don't need mocap, we don't need single-player level designers, we don't need this, that, and the other. From a purely cold-hearted business standpoint, it's kind of like, I think Andrew Wilson will probably be looking at that thinking, well, we don't need it.
Yeah, I don't know. What was everybody else's thoughts?
Well, I'm reading this quote that Wilson had in Variety. If I think about Battlefield 5 more holistically, I think we did not do a great job of building momentum early in the project, he said. And
Really?
I think about this not just in the context of development, but I think about this in the context about broader execution against the entire campaign. Our launch didn't resonate strongly as we would have liked it to with players, and we were never truly able to catch up and as our competitors continued to build momentum, whether that was Fortnite or Red Dead Redemption 2 or Call of Duty. So if he's listing those, it can't be single player is the problem.
Yeah.
Nah. It's like we keep saying, it can't be the only problem.
Right.
Because you can't have Fortnite and Call of Duty be the problem also.
Yeah.
Right. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, so I think from a business perspective, would they look at, because I'm sure they look at Battlefield and Call of Duty, and now they throw Fortnite into the mix, and they say, why are these games doing so well and ours aren't? What's the one difference between ours and theirs? And that's probably what they came up with from a business perspective. And to your point earlier, like, keep costs down without having all these extra single players, no story writers, no, mocap, things like that. So I think from a business perspective, it's understandable, but from a gamer's perspective, I think that, there was also some controversy, right, in Battlefield 5. Wasn't there some controversy where they changed the entire dynamic or the story for like appropriation or something like that?
Well, there's that whole ongoing thing of, in Battlefield 5 you can choose like to be a female character.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the argument is that there weren't many female soldiers on the battlefields in World War II. And it's kind of like, and they're saying, oh, well, EA did this because it's the agenda, blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. And then, that guy from DICE, I think it was, came out on Twitter and said, hey, if you don't like it, don't buy the game. And that kind of just like, that kind of backfired a bit, because then you got a lot of people saying, well, fine, I won't buy it, but maybe they weren't going to buy it anyway. Battlefield 5 was a bit of a disaster the whole way up the launch, really. I mean, it was announced at, was it EA's E3 thing? Like not last year, but the year before? I can't remember. Or was it last year? Or maybe they had their own, I think they had their own Battlefield stream, but they didn't show any gameplay. It was just like concept art and stuff like that, and guys on stage talking about it. It's just been a disaster. Like, PR-wise, it's been not good.
Yeah, but I thought people were like kind of excited. I mean, at first they're like, "Oh, World War II, yay!" And then they're like, "Oh, this is not." I mean, I don't think that it didn't help that they launched against the Call of Duty, which also is World War II. They went back to World War II as well. So yeah. I don't think that helped.
I think one of the things you really got to take into consideration as well, and it's like a major factor, is no battle royale.
Yeah, and
as like, almost as sad as that is to kind of comment on, it's like, it's true. If you look at Twitch streams right now, if you look at, everything's battle royale, and you're shipping the one multiplayer game that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Apex Legends if you want to see what the kind of draw battle royale is right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess that goes into my next question here. I mean, do you think if they focused on the battle royale, I mean, it sounds like, Robert, you think that the game would have done better?
Easily.
It could have done worse.
Exactly. I think there's no question whatsoever that it would have done better had it launched with a battle royale. Because now it's coming out in March, isn't it?
Yeah.
Battlefield 5 battle royale is due for March, and it's like, that is too late. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Battlefield 5 anymore.
Well, and it's weird now because they're going to be competing against their other, properties that they're publishing, like Anthem and even, Apex Legends. Like, it's weird that it was a couple years ago when they launched Titanfall 2 and they launched some other games. I feel like they tried to spread out the launches so they wouldn't compete with each other. But now I feel like these games are certainly going to be competing with each other. It's a weird situation for EA to be in right now.
It's a bit weird.
Well, I mean, if EA was ever going to learn from its mistakes, we'd have seen evidence of that by now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you think that EA is going to shy away from single player games going forward then?
I think companies like EA, Activision, if they could have it their way and never make a single player game again, I think they would. Because I think that's where the money is. I think big businesses follow the money. I think they'll look at, you look at Activision, and what a Activision Blizzard, you've got Overwatch, you've got Call of Duty, you've got all these kind of World of Warcraft. But it's kind of like you look at what they've announced, Diablo Mobile, and it's kind of like yeah. It's kind of like you know where their stock is, you know what they're putting stock into. They're looking at the things that
I guess, but it just seems stupid to write off single player games because, like we were already talking about, with the game awards, they're all single player games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
but they don't care if their game wins Game of the Year. They just want to make sure it's the most profit, gets them the most profit, which is kind of actually interesting because it's like EA. It's the way I'm kind of likening it to is these battle royale games. They don't take a lot of money to make, but we could make a lot of money off of it. So it's
They're
like
the reality show, the reality television.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
It's the reality TV of video games.
So yeah, are we gonna see like this huge divide then? This dissonance between the games that are nominated for Game of the Year and stuff that people actually play, just like what happens with the Oscars now.
Yep.
Yeah.
The movies that are nominated are not the ones that people are seeing on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2019 Game of the Year is going to be Teen Mom Battle Royale.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, God of War and Spider-Man and stuff still made a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think single player games are going to. I think if you look at EA's situation right now, right, they had like that's like you can't read too much into it, but their stocks fell and stuff after the whole Battlefield 5 thing after that earnings call, and then they went back up after Apex Legends, but whatever. I think EA, you're seeing the downfall of handling a company like that. I think once you fall out with the hardcore. And that's what it is. It's a hardcore when you care about this kind of stuff. But once you fall out with them, your word of mouth starts getting negative. And it's been happening to EA for years now. And you're finally starting to see the downturn of it business-wise.
That's absolutely true. If I see that EA is putting out a game, then I automatically think I'm not going to get that until I hear somebody tell me how it is.
Yeah.
Well, Respawn Entertainment said it, didn't they? There was that really good interview with Eurogamer, and Respawn came out and they said, oh, well, look, we're publishing a free-to-play Battle Royale game under EA. And if we had a marketing campaign for this, it was going to be a disaster. So we just thought, let's just release the game and let people see it for themselves.
Interesting.
And it worked.
And it genius is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just total genius. It's the best thing that EA's had a part in a long while.
Yeah, like 10 million people, right?
Yeah. It's
That's
crazy.
crazy though. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether that number stays or whether it drops off. Because I'm sure it's like, anecdotally, the feedback I've been hearing on Twitter is mostly negative. Very few people seem to like it.
Really?
Yeah, and my husband tried it on both the PlayStation and the Xbox. He doesn't like it.
Interesting.
It's weird, isn't it? Because like Battle Royale is still kind of, it seems young, but at the same time, we're now at a period with Battle Royale where people know what they like about Battle Royale games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a new competitor in that space, I think it's very difficult to kind of maintain it unless you've got some really good.
Well, yeah, and you've not only got to convince like the individual player to switch over from whatever their regular Battle Royale is, you got to convince all their friends to come with them, and
true.
That's a large ask.
Yes.
People play where their friends are when it comes to multiplayer games, don't they? That's like the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, and the fact that games like Fortnite are cross-play, like, makes it so much easier for you to retain your user base.
Yeah,
versus if you come out with Apex Legends, like, right, so this comes out on a PC, PS4, Xbox, but there's no cross-play. Like, you can't play, so now you got to convince your friends to leave whatever system that they have. Most gamers probably have all the systems anyway, but to not only leave the game that they have, but also to jump onto that game, that system that you have, right? So I think that makes it even more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say one thing, Mike, though, about the the cost of things. I think there probably is a little bit less cost, But I think it's also less cost to market in regards to it's a lot faster to get to market for a lot of these games where they don't have to have so much content right away and they can keep coming out with new content. Like that's where I think Fortnite was so brilliant, was the fact that they constantly put out new stuff, but they don't have to have it right away. They can put out, things like the Gauntlet War, the Finian Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was super brilliant of them. Launching that right when the movie came out, like they planned that so well. Like that was so brilliantly done, and it kept it a secret, which is also really amazing in this world that we live in now.
Yeah.
But I think the cost to market is so much quicker too. I mean, just putting your product out there. I'm sure that they practice some kind of like agile development where they're developing in small iterations and getting that stuff out there as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing, and it's amazing that they can do that, and then they get feedback right away, and then they can pull that stuff out right away too if it doesn't work. So it's in regards to how you develop software, like I find it so fascinating, because versus like a God of War where that's all, it's going to go a little technical here, but like what's all waterfall where you're building it all up front and then you throw it over the wall and you're like, oh, hopefully that people like that. You don't really get an immediate feedback, an immediate response from your user base. So I mean, you do, but there's not much you can do except for putting out patches. It's amazing. It's such a different way of thinking about games. My next question kind of goes into the Anthem though. Like, so in Anthem and Apex, do you think the success of Apex Legends will affect Anthem?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure it will. If by effect you mean Anthem sees what's working for Apex and tries to incorporate it into like a separate game mode, then I don't see that.
Do you think though that like people will not play Anthem because of Apex if they're so hooked to it?
No.
I mean, I don't know.
Anthem is going for the Destiny crowd.
Yeah.
Apex Legend is much more the Fortnite crowd. There's like a completely different tones of the games. And,
but it's like what we were saying before about people only having so much free time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
the timing of Apex Legends is a little bit weird in the sense that both published by EA, and they've been marketing Anthem for months now, since like the start of the year really heavily, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. And then they suddenly throw out Apex Legends, and it's like, oh, we've also got this other thing.
do you think
It does seem a little bit.
Do you think they put it out now because the Anthem demo went so poorly?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I wonder if that factored into it somehow at some level. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Apex Legends has had no problems though, right? Like technically speaking.
Not that I've heard.
So maybe it was just good to go. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's weird too because like it's part of the Titanfall universe, but it's there's no Titans in it at all. Like it's so weird.
Is it a good thing that they didn't say this was called Titanfall : Apex Legends? Would that have been a good thing?
No. I don't think probably the average person even knows this is part of the Titanfall universe.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I think Respawn cut its losses on that. I think it'll do Titanfall somewhere down the line. I think it's great that they have this world that they want to keep the lore in and all that kind of stuff. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think it was absolutely the right call to say, look, we're not going to call this Titanfall. We're not going to go on like it's got much to do with Titanfall. There's going to be no Titans, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
I think
But
that's definitely the right call.
They
'Cause
also left it open in case they want to do it in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Roger was saying about these games being open to adding to them. You know, there's so much you can do with Apex Legends once it's out.
Yeah, and well, that's the weird thing though. Like they're gonna constantly come out with new stuff, and then all of a sudden Anthem's here. And I mean I agree with you, Blue. I think it's a different crowd that they're going for, but in the same sense, you're still competing for gamers' time, and that to me, I think is so bizarre that EA is like putting themselves in such a weird position right now. It's so bizarre to me.
Maybe not. Maybe they're thinking that they can have their cake and eat it too this way. Because I mean, you know what I mean? People who play Destiny, they're not just looking for battle royale. They want stories and they want raids and they want all that kind of stuff. And people who play Fortnite, they just want to be in and out in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blue's right. It might just be EA looking at it and thinking, hey, here's our battle royale, here's our Destiny. They can coexist as long as we get everyone onto one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It never really worked out for those that thought they could have their cake and eat it too.
Well, if anybody can do it, it's going to be EA.
Do you think the success of Apex Legends will affect other games going forward? Like, even the marketing of other games? Like, the fact that they didn't really market this at all?
Well, I think Respawn were exactly right. I think if this game had a marketing campaign, it would have killed it before it was out.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. Imagine you had a proper traditional marketing campaign for Apex Legends since, I don't know, November of last year, right? Respawn and EA come out and they say, we've got Apex Legends coming out free to play in February 2019. Okay, what is it? It is a battle royale game. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's character based. Okay. And there's going to be 8 characters, and it's going to be squad based, and it's going to be basically every buzzword from the last 3 years. Okay.
Yep.
And how do we market it? Well, we put out a trailer for each character. He has so and so. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn about any of those characters. The only way you get people caring about Apex Legends is to have them in the game playing it and saying, "Hey, this is pretty good."
Yeah.
And then going on Twitter and telling everybody that it's good.
And going and streaming it, right? So I think that to me, I think is a huge. To me, I think this is like a. I don't know, if you're working in marketing, it seems like this is like a eye opener thing, right? Look at all the money you spend on campaigns, and if you can get people to stream it and watch other people to watch it, I think that in itself says more than a lot of money that's dumped into traditional marketing campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it does, but I think also we're just looking at Apex Legends and saying it was a success, so far, but what prevented it from being like any number of the games that are released every week on the Switch, like Mike was saying, and then they just get buried in the tidal wave of new releases? Why did that not happen to Apex Legends when it happens to every other game that doesn't market?
I think they had the streamers, didn't they? I think that was a big thing. How did they get the
streamers?
Yeah.
Well, they invited the streamers like a day before it launched because there were like the leaks going on, so you had like...
So they did do marketing. It was just different.
They did, but it wasn't a traditional marketing camp. It's like, it's like, I guess you could call it like a stealth, like an instant marketing campaign, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's the game. But at the same time, they had a marketing campaign in the sense that here's the game. Also, you can go check out all of the biggest streamers on Twitch, and they're all playing it right now because they're our, inverted commas, partners.
Yeah.
We are literally paying them to play the game to advertise it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still think it's a genius way to do it. But as Blue suggested, I don't think it works for everything.
Well, we'll see how much money they make. I mean, we see 10 million players playing it, great, but how much revenue are you getting from that? And if you have a marketing campaign where it's a quick, like, oh, look at this new flashy thing over here, is it gonna just go away right away too? Like Fortnite, I think does. I still think Fortnite's so brilliant in the fact that before that game came out, I thought to myself, there's no way it's gonna beat PUBG. Like everybody loves PUBG.
Yeah.
Like nobody's gonna move away from that. And then they came out with this, and they were able to sustain. Not only did they come out with it, they were able to sustain that excitement and that user base, which I think is so difficult in this economy, or in this gaming economy we live in right now. I think that's so brilliant. I don't know, like PUBG can't keep up with it.
Well, when you have players in the NFL doing Fortnite dances for their touchdown dances,
yeah, that's it.
You've won.
Yeah, well, you got Orange Shirt Kid, suing Epic.
We were. I just got back from watching the Lego Movie 2, and Batman does the floss in that movie.
Come on, are you serious?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
At least he doesn't dab, I guess.
Yeah.
And Ralph did the Floss and Wreck-It Ralph too.
Yeah, you're right.
But that makes sense in that game, I guess, or that movie, because it's a video game movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, I'll allow it. I'm not happy. I'll allow it.
am I right in assuming that we're not massive Fortnite fans in here?
You know,
Mike said that, and then Roger was like, "Really?" And then Blue was like, "Ugh."
So here's the thing.
We're old.
I'm not much of a fan of it, but I could still appreciate what it's done for the industry.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
like so my son had a sleepover last night, and I go into his room. Him and his friend are playing Fortnite on the same team. My son is playing on the PlayStation 4, and his friend is playing on the Switch. I'm like, "Are you guys playing in separate matches?" And they're like, "No, we're doing duos." And then as a gamer taking a step back and seeing something like that, someone on the PlayStation 4, somebody on the Switch, and I'm just like, this is crazy. You know, it'd be like watching, like back when I was a kid, watching two people playing Streets of Rage on a Genesis and a Super Nintendo.
We would die
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I'm not a big fan of Fortnite, but I'm in the same boat with Mike. I think that I'm impressed what it has done, and I'm in some aspects I'm happy what it's done for the gaming industry too. I mean, certainly has brought gaming to the forefront. I mean, not that it wasn't before, but man, like every time that somebody says, "Oh, you do podcasts about video games, yeah. What do you think of Fortnite?" That's the first question I always get.
Yeah.
What about Fortnite? Oh, is it too violent for my kids to play? And I'm like, actually, out of all those types of games, this is probably like the least violent game.
Yeah.
And that's a major selling point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the least violent.
It's the least violent. Yeah, it's not going to get the syntax. That's for sure.
Well, it's digital, so
That's true too. But it also incorporates building, you know. So like there is aspects of, you know, some strategy in building, and like, you know, yeah, I don't know. Like it's a fascinating game.
Fortnite is quite a complex game for how popular it is, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
When you really sit down and think about it, it's pretty damn complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And just to think, it started out as a tower defense against zombies, like waves of zombies.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing.
That's
an actual game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, didn't Cliff Bleszinski like announce Fortnite? Like original initial for Epic Games.
Right.
Was it Cliff that did it?
I think so.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What a long way, huh? What a long way we've come with that. Any final thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I don't know. EA will probably never learn.
They'll find a way to mess it up.
Yep.
Well, here's a question, right, to sum it up. 1 month from right now, where is Apex Legends?
It's not being talked about.
You think?
Yeah.
No, nobody's playing it anymore.
Do you think it just falls off a cliff completely?
It's possible.
I'm with Roger. The Battle Royale market is hard to break into, and it's probably already leading towards being saturated.
Yeah. I think it's hard to break into, and like Roger was saying before, it's even harder to sustain.
Didn't this happen with H1Z1? Wasn't that pretty popular when it first came out, and then just nosedived?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I think this is the thing though, isn't it? We can say like it nosedived, but at the same time, there's probably more people playing H1Z1 right now than there are. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's still. I don't know.
Well,
Apex Legends is weird.
Yeah. Well, time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if they can keep, I think the only thing that they could do is if they constantly come up with new things all the time, like to keep it relevant and fresh. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But I think that, you know, I think it's gonna be one of these games that's quick. I almost used the wrong words there, and that would have been really bad. But quick to grab your attention, and then quick to kind of just be the flash in the pan and just leave. So I think that's, I don't know. I think a month from now we'll be talking about something else, and that will not even be. Oh yeah, I bet you a month from now we'll be saying, "Remember Apex Legends? Oh yeah, what happened to that game?"
There you go. We'll just make ourselves a note In a month from now, we'll
March
talk about it on the
10th.
show again.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I'll be back on the show with my friend Andrew Wilson.
Yes,
You'll be laughing, cackling
bring
into the
Andy
mic.
for the show.
Hey, actually, Robert, since you're here, one last question I do have, since we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
How much money are you making on all your reviews that you guys do?
the EA, specifically EA.
Yeah, specifically EA, but any game that you get, how much money do the publishers push your way?
It's not necessarily money. I ask for favors now rather than money. I've made so much money off being bribed for reviews that I've got no need for it anymore. So now I just ask for personal favors. I'm like, Andy, listen, my bank account is stocked, mate. I'm gonna need just I'll tell you what, whenever you get a call from me, just be there to pick it up, and then
he has a
that'll
special
do.
bat phone for you? Is that what?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's like that one line from the second Hunger Games movie, where he's like, "I haven't dealt in anything as common as money in years."
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, before we leave, then let's go around and tell people how they can get a hold of us. Robert, how can people get a hold of you on the social networks?
I am on Twitter at Shogun Rock, which is just ROK without a C, and you can also find me in the comments section and in the articles of pushsquare.com.
Nice. And Mike, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter at TC Throwers. You can also find the Controller Throwers podcast right here on GamerheadsPodcast.com.
All right, thanks. And Blue, how can people get a hold of you?
You can almost always find me on Twitter. My handle is at WritersView, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, which is writersview.com.
And listeners, you can get a hold of Gamerheads. You can reach us on Twitter at GamerheadsPC. You can also send us an email at info@GamerheadsPodcast. And you can also go to our website, which is GamerheadsPodcast.com. And lastly, you can also go to Facebook too as well, and that's Facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast. All right, Robert, thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, it's been a pleasure as always.
Oh, well, we enjoy having you on the show, and I'm glad that there was no technical difficulties this week. So that was
Not technical.
Well, not technical.
Other difficulties?
Yeah,
but
other
not
difficulties.
technical.
Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Blue, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Roger.
And listeners, thank you for giving up another hour and a half or so of your time. We really appreciate you listening to our show, and give us feedback. We'd love to hear what you have to say. If you want to help us grow, you want to help the channel grow, please go out to iTunes and leave us a review there. That helps us get the word out to other people. And if you want to just leave us messages as well, leave us comments. You can also go to Twitter to do that. If you have questions for the cast, let us know. We would be more than happy to read them within reason. All right, thanks, listeners. Until next week, have a safe and wonderful week.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.